Hello everyone, Grandma here. I'm sharing with you this Homemakers Chat that was broadcast on the radio on Thursday, February 22nd, 1940. Subject: Washington's Meals. Information from the Office of Information, USDA. Probably nobody knows exactly the dinner menu Martha Washington planned for her husband's birthday, but the records, letters, and diaries of Washington's time tells enough about the meals at Mount Vernon to give a pretty good idea of what his birthday dinner probably was. Martha Washington was an accomplished housewife, noted for the painstaking attention she gave to every detail of running her house, and she must have spent a great deal of her time on meals. The Washingtons entertained a great deal, and every step of the food preparation, from raw materials to the table, had to be done at home. Martha Washington knew every ingredient in the dishes at her table. None of them came prepared and packaged from the grocery store, as so many of our foods do today. An old Scotchman, William Maclay, visited Mount Vernon and wrote about the dinner he had there. He wrote, "It was a great dinner, the best of the kind I ever was at. First was the soup, then fish roasted and boiled, meats, smoked ham, fowls, and so forth. The dessert was first apple pies, pudding, and so forth. Then ice creams and jellies, then watermelons, apples, peaches, and nuts." Custis, in his recollections of Washington, says Washington was very fond of fish. Washington had his own fisherman, an old colored man called Father Jack, who spent his days on the Potomac River bringing in fish for Washington's table. Those were the days when 5-foot lobsters and oysters 12 inches long could be had for the gathering in Chesapeake Bay. Game and wild fowl was plentiful in the forest around Mount Vernon. Washington's hunter, Tom Davis, supplied the game for Washington's meals. A single shot from Tom's old British gun could bring down a week's supply of canvas-back ducks, and the old records tell of flights of pigeons that broke down whole branches under their weight. Of course, deer and bear were as easy to get. The ham served at Mount Vernon came from Washington's own choice porkers. The ham was sugar-cured and smoked over a hickory fire in the old smokehouse still standing at Mount Vernon. After the ham had aged for months, it was boiled in home-pressed cider. By the way, cider was not only commonly used in cooking at Mount Vernon, but was also one of Washington's favorite beverages. Roasting on spits over wood coals in the great open fireplace was the usual method of cooking meats and game at Mount Vernon. Bread baked in the brick chimney oven beside the fireplace. Baking was a job in itself in those days, for the oven had to be heated first with a special fire of twigs and small wood. Just before the bread went in, the fire was brushed out of the brick oven. Familiar breads of those days were rye and Indian bread, brown bread, and wheaten loaves. The flour all came from home-raised grain ground between great millstones at a nearby mill. Mount Vernon was famous for its bountiful array of sweets. Though sugar was already coming in from the West Indies in Washington's time, the everyday sweets at his table were wild honey or maple syrup. Washington's mother was noted for the rice waffles she served with a sauce of honey and syrup, spiced with cinnamon and caraway seed. and Martha Washington used honey and syrup for her sparkling jellies and fruit preserves, and for her branded peaches. The old accounts had a good deal to say about desserts at Mount Vernon, too. Familiar pies of those days were apple, minced, and pumpkin. Lard for the pastry came from Mount Vernon hogs and was tried out with sprigs of rosemary grown in Martha Washington's herb garden. Other desserts were steamed and boiled puddings, often made with cornmeal and custard and syllabus. The old accounts say Washington ate sparingly of desserts, but was very fond of melons, fruit, and nuts. Every Thursday, promptly at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the Washingtons gave a formal dinner. On other days of the week, the dinner hour was 3 o'clock. I can't tell you what time Washington ate breakfast, but Custis reports what he ate. Washington's breakfast was always the same: Indian cakes, honey, and tea. Apparently, Washington got more of what we now call minerals and vitamins from fruits than from vegetables. The old accounts say little or nothing about vegetables except for potatoes and onions. Martha Washington's own recipe book, which she called her rule book, contains recipe for various potato dishes, among them a potato pudding made with eggs, nutmeg, cream, and sweetenings. Onions were on the menu at Washington's farewell dinner to his officers. Then, of course, Martha Washington used a great many herbs for seasoning, but the variety of vegetables and salads we eat today apparently didn't figure in Mount Vernon's meals. One other sidelight on the food of the father of his country comes from several letters and diaries of that period. Visitors frequently described the meals at Mount Vernon by such words as bountiful and elegant, but Washington himself had a reputation for being very frugal in his eating, often dining on only one dish at a meal. He frequently called down his steward, Black Sam, for spending so much on food. These are only glimpses of Washington's meals, of course, and not the whole picture, but they do give an idea of how well-to-do Americans ate 150 to 200 years ago.